Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Real to Real Talk. I'm here. Paul's here. Time to talk movies. Hey, Paul.
Hi. I just want you to know I have written words to the intro music. And all I can tell you is at the very end it says, "And we're gonna have a good time."
That sounds quite appropriate.
Yeah.
That sounds quite appropriate because we always do.
That's
We always
unrelated to anything. I just needed to get that out, you know.
How long? I mean, we've had that theme for a while now, so I wonder how long it took.
Months I have had that written.
And, yeah, well, on the same night that you reveal that there are lyrics to the opening song, or opening music, I worked on just shortening the intro. So,
okay.
And
we're gonna have a good time.
Maybe that's what we should do. Yeah, so that's the goal. We're simply calling this episode movie reviews because we've got a few to talk about.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting when you consider that as you look across the list of films we're going to talk about, none of them are really like things that people have been waiting for, you know. And yet, I will say, that I was quite satisfied.
I will say also this: Sisu had one of those trailers that if you're into trailers, you've been looking forward to. This movie.
Absolutely. But I guess if we look at it from the perspective of like, ooh, what's the big release this week?
Right.
There really wasn't one.
No.
Yet, like I said, I was like, this was one of the few times where I've come out of the weekend and, into today going, yeah, I'm pretty satisfied. So
basically every studio decided, you know what, we're going to give Mario Brothers a month to just do whatever the hell they want.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
And I know they passed $1 billion.
I was told to remind you. So
okay. We're going to give Mario Brothers a month to just do what they want.
Yeah.
We'll throw John Wick in there for the adults, but we know it's not a real contender versus Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
But other than John Wick, we're just going to leave Mario Brothers alone.
Yeah.
And so Mario Brothers had a month to get to $1 billion. When he said that, what I should have done was gone and look and see what else was coming out. Gotcha. Because you give a movie like that a month, it's going to make $1 billion easy. Like it was on 5 theaters still this weekend. Yeah. It's like, this is ridiculous.
Got it. So you're
Guardians
saying
stop that
it was set up to be able to get $1 million.
It was really set up to be $1 billion movie, but also it helped that it was actually decent. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
Good for them. Part of my calculus, honestly, was that it looked bad and it was coming from a studio that had a pretty good track record of making bad animated movies. And so, but they broke that string. So bravo to Illumination. Good job.
Yeah. Well, again, as we prepare to jump into this week's, I want to start by sharing that we are going to have another visit from Kristen Smith soon, so I'm looking forward to that. We had a great conversation with her, and Paul, it's like anything else. When she says, "Hey, we should take a look at these movies," I'm like, "Of course." So.
I'm in like Flynn. I don't care how old. By the way, we're gonna the title of that episode is going to be movies we just missed completely from 2022.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what's exciting is we're gonna get a chance to dive back.
I might find one more to make it an even 3, but we'll figure that out.
I like that idea.
We'll deal with it when we get there.
Absolutely. Well, right now we're going to deal with releases from this past weekend, and we're going to start with a film that, my goodness, wow, Polite Society released this past week, and Paul, when you watch a trailer of this type, it's easy to kind of go into this mode of like, maybe streaming. But went to see it, and I got to tell you, this was quite an entertaining film.
Yeah, this was a fun movie.
Yes,
and that's all. It was just fun,
and it knew that that's what it was doing.
Yeah,
there's a little bit of a theme. I'll tell you after.
Yeah.
In these first 2 movies we're going to talk about that I think I found consistent. Although they were very different. Action, yes, but with a totally different spirit in terms of both films. This movie was lighthearted, fun, action-y, but girl powery, and in all the best ways. And to tell you, I can't think I couldn't think of the last time when I just out loud laughed with like no second thought. It was just funny.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
charming and it was fun.
Yeah.
And where we need more movies like this, Paul.
Okay. I'm okay.
A little bit.
Yes, but how's that? So we're gonna go back to everybody's not ad lib training. What's that called? The or yes and not yes but yes and
Yes and okay, gotcha.
Okay,
gotcha.
so what is that called? Not ad lib.
I don't know, but I know
like
I understand
whose line is it anyway? Improv. We're going back to everybody's improv training where it's yes and yes, we need more movies like this, and they need to sit down and do a rewrite before they actually start filming. Here's the thing is because the actual plot of this movie, if you take away the themes, okay, take away the sisterly love themes and all that sort of thing, and just focus on the actual plot.
Yeah.
Just so dumb. Like,
oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But there's no need for it to be dumb. Because
8%.
here's the thing is, this is a B+ movie that could have easily been an A++ movie.
Okay.
If they made it a little bit more like a Secret Life of Walter Mitty type of thing, where the story of the movie is that there are two sisters growing up in England within the Indian society in England, you know, and they're just the ne'er-do-wells of the English Indian society. Like these sisters are like want to do crazy wacky things. One wants to be an actress, or not an actress, an artist. The other one wants to be a stunt woman. Just things that in Indian society, in polite society, not heavily frowned upon. And one's in high school. The one that wants to be an action star is in high school, and the artist has just recently dropped out of art school and is completely and totally adrift in life. And she ends up falling in love with a well-to-do young man, lawyer, I believe. Oh no, doctor. A well-to-do doctor from the very best of the polite society families. And so the younger sister believes that this is all a plot and needs to stop it. Yeah. Now, wonderful setup. Everything I just said is awesome. I'm in. Where it comes down, where it falls apart for me is that they actually set up a plot that needed to be stopped. And it's like, you don't have to do
You're
that.
talking about the ultimate reason for, I don't want to give too much away, but
right.
Is that what
the ultimate reason why they actually do end up not getting married.
Gotcha.
And it's like, you don't need that. Like, and it's too much.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely silly. And it's completely unnecessary because they've established that the younger sister has a really cool, awesome imagination. Yeah. And that is frowned upon in polite society. And just roll with that. Just make that, like, just the story is this sisterly relationship. It's the relationship between these two sisters that is stronger than the pull from polite society. And one of the sisters, in her listless, adrift nature, has lost sight of that, and only through her sister's insanity. I say insanity in the best possible terms,
of course.
Only through her sister's insanity does she come to realize, wait, this isn't what I want to do. But that's not what they do. And it's like, you didn't need to actually make a plot. Like, it's just because the plot is so dumb. It's so dumb.
It is. But again, I think this is one of those moments again where I forgive it because it was so funny, you know. And so because here's the thing, how much longer does this movie end up having to be though? And maybe I'm misunderstanding you, but the resolution of this film, I want to be careful how I say this. It's like, if it does only become about family and the society and, you know, the, you know, I may be misunderstanding you, but I think what you're saying is this was a situation that needed to be dealt with because there was something afoot.
Yes.
If it wasn't that, then how does it resolve would be my only question. Is like, what, you know,
just her sister wakes up and realizes, man, I don't care how adrift I am. Being in this super achieving high society family is really not going to make me happy, and
Gotcha.
hanging
Okay,
out
I
with
see
my
what you're saying.
sister and
Yeah.
making YouTube not YouTube making TikTok videos is really
Yeah.
the thing that's going to make me happy.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
and so she just joins her sister in a ridiculous escape plan, and they escape and leave, and that's it.
Gotcha. Okay.
That's the movie. And you're worried, oh, it's
I
going to
like
add time.
I
No,
liked this version.
it's not going to. What's that?
I liked this version.
My version or the one that?
No, I like the movie. I like the original movie.
Okay.
But I mean,
the plot is so stupid.
Sure,
It's so stupid.
and that's going to be something that we're going to kind of comment on a couple of the movies we're talking about, because and I think, listen, if and I'm 100% with you on your version. If that had been the version I saw, I would have enjoyed this as much.
Right.
Okay. Because what really captured me about this film was the spirit in which it's done.
Yes.
And the silliness and so forth. I mean, that is often enough for me.
And what I'm saying is that is enough for me too, and it should have been enough for the movie. Like,
gotcha.
You can have a good movie with just silliness.
True.
You can absolutely, not only can you have a good movie with silliness, you can have a great movie with silliness, and you can have a better movie with silliness.
Gotcha. Well,
because the plot is so dumb.
But there is that point in the film where you realize what the plot is, and I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that I didn't roll my eyes. Of course I did. Yeah. But it just made it all that much more silly and enjoyable for me. And so, at the end of the day, this is a film that from the trailer to what you see ends up being enough for you to go, okay, this wasn't all what I expected.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So from our sorry, from our taco rating system here, I already know you're gonna think I went too high. So we'll start with you. On our five taco rating scale, what does Polite Society get from Paul?
Oh, I think I'm just doing 3 tacos. I think it deserves 3 tacos. It's easily a 4 taco movie without the dumbness. Like, if they just remove the dumbness, I'm 4 tacos.
Okay, well, I'm glad you said that, because then for you it's going to make sense that for me this was a 4 taco movie.
That's fine.
It really was. It was lighthearted. It was fun.
Yep.
It was silly.
It was lighthearted and fun and silly, and with too much plot.
Yeah, and I'm totally okay with that. And not only that, but I'll tell you, this movie probably would not have made it onto my radar if it hadn't been for Jen, who, as you know, is feeding me movies here in this next few weeks. But she'd seen the trailer to this one and directed me to it. I was like, oh, okay, that looks fun. And I really came out of the theater not just having enjoyed the film, but I enjoyed hearing her laugh and have a good time. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. I love it for that.
So
I just want to say that I probably would not have gotten to this movie if I hadn't recently been laid off, and I'm fine. I've got a new job lined up already.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. And but it gave me like a week of staycation. So Monday I had nothing to do anyway. So I'm like, yeah, forget it. I'm going to go to see Polite Society. Well, and it also led me to a theater. The timing of the movie that was showing, it was like, I could travel 20 minutes away or 30 minutes away and save like $3 on the price of the ticket. But it's a further travel, and and the timing was like, it was like starts 2 hours later, or I could go right before lunch, or right at lunchtime at a place that's close by, but it's a really expensive theater. And I was like, well, forget it. I'm going to the expensive theater. And I was like, oh, and I wonder what there is to eat for lunch there. And there's a brand new taco place over there.
Oh yeah.
And I just love bonus points for Polite Society for getting me to try a brand new taco place.
And there you go. Totally worth it. Worth it.
100%.
All right. The other
go see this movie in theaters.
Yes,
absolutely. Definitely see this movie.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Also fun. Is the next movie we're going to talk about, which was released this past week, a movie from Finland by the name of Sisu. And I'm going to go right with what you said, Paul. It's the trailer that gets you to this film if you watched it. If you happen to cross the trailer, then I'm guaranteed that Paul is absolutely right. You're going to have wanted to see this film. And this film is relentless.
Yes.
Brutal.
Yes.
So much fun.
So much fun. And this is an example of a movie.
I couldn't wait to hear your thoughts on this.
That does not try at all to be anything.
Thank you.
It literally is like, this is what we are. I had so many times this year already, I have come into here and said, oh my God, this movie is about one thing, but they throw in 3 extra plot lines.
Yes.
And all of those extra plot lines just muddle the movie and make it not a good movie. This movie is about one thing. Dude finds gold, hates war, gold stolen by Nazis. He needs to get his gold back.
Yeah.
And he happens to be a super soldier,
yes.
Who hates war, but is willing to kill Nazis for his gold back. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. He doesn't have a grandkid that needs a surgery somewhere.
Right.
He doesn't have a village where his donkey lives, and that he knows that if he can find the gold, he'll be able to feed his village and his donkey.
Yeah.
None of that. It's just, I want this gold. And he doesn't say a damn word the entire movie. And it's
exactly. Until the very end. And here's the thing that for me made this such an entertaining movie. And somebody said it was like John Wick meets Quentin Tarantino was kind of the vibe.
Okay.
And the thing about this movie that was so entertaining to me was this is a movie where 90 minutes is really all it takes.
Yeah.
And they deliver. And every minute of this film, for me, in terms of the direction they go, is necessary. It doesn't overstay its welcome. And you even get a point where you're like, what? No. And you're like, but okay.
Yeah.
It harkens back to those, mid 80s, mid 80s, early 90s action movies where you just had to separate yourself from all reality and go, this is just what happens in action movies.
Yes.
And so, this was a fantastic film. Are you familiar at all with the people behind it from the director? I mean, are there films you're familiar with that fall? Because
no, I'm not.
I'm curious to know what am I been missing from the cinema of Finland.
Yeah. I will say this. My unanswerable question, although I'm sure it's super answerable, is did they film 2 versions of this movie? Because there's not a lot of dialogue. So did they film a version in English? Because by the way, all the actors are speaking English except for the one guy who only has one line at the end of the movie anyway.
Right.
And so you don't need to be like, oh well, I won't go see foreign language movies. And did they just go ahead and film this movie twice, once in English, once in Finnish? Because it would have been super easy to do because of how little dialogue actually is.
Sure. Yeah. At the end of the day, this is one of those movies where you just listen. If you can stomach violence, and I feel like you're onto something.
This is the fucking guy who made Rare Exports.
Okay.
Yeah, which is in the depths. I'll read you the thing. So this is, by the way, this has been on my what the hell did I just watch? And I was supposed to do it this past year, but we kept saying we delayed. What the hell did we delayed our there were a couple weeks there where we
that's right.
Okay, and so I would have done this movie, but in the depths of the blankety blank mountains, 486 meters deep, lies the closest ever guarded secret of Christmas. The time has come to dig it up. This Christmas, everyone will believe in Santa Claus. So this movie is supposed to be bonkers. So just so you know, Rare Exports is going to be done this coming.
Okay.
So
excellent.
Yeah, this guy does make like off the wall bonkers
movies. Yeah.
So yep.
Well, for me, Sisu, if you don't mind me going first, this is for me a strong 4 taco movie.
Okay.
I enjoyed the action. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed it all, and I'm like,
I would love to give it 4 tacos. It's just not a 4 taco. I'm giving it 3+ guac, and the difference between this and Polite Society is literally this movie was about one thing and Polite Society was about 2 things, and it was one too many things. Whereas Sisu is about one thing and it's perfect, and that's all it needs to be about.
Yeah. Well, you know that extra taco for me just comes simply by my appreciation for these kinds of films. So
Absolutely. Oh,
yeah,
I really did thoroughly enjoy this
yeah,
movie from start to finish. Every single friggin' second of the film is just an absolute delight. But
yeah.
I gotta be kind of, I can't just be throwing 4 stars or 4 tacos or
No,
everywhere,
that makes sense. You don't know, Paul, how many times, because I saw this very early in the weekend, which doesn't always get to happen when I'm getting ready for the show.
Okay.
And oh man, it was just torture. Days of waiting to talk to you about it. So I'm glad we
Yeah.
finally got to this
Oh
point.
man. It's
All
good
right.
times.
Another release this week that was anticipated by many is a film that you got to watch, which
Yes.
is Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I'll turn it over to you for your thoughts on
Yeah.
this film.
Look, this was the best movie I saw all week, and it's not even close. This is just an absolutely delightful family movie. You mentioned Polite Society. There aren't enough movies. No, there's not enough movies like this, which are family movies that are for kids but deal in adult, like growing uh real life situations, like just things like it's you like kids can, everybody can relate to these characters, because maybe you're a parent and you have a kid who's going through this. Maybe you're a kid, hopefully people are taking their kids and they see Margaret and they're like, wow, I'm going through this. And it's and this is like, if you're a person and you went to school, you knew somebody that, if you didn't read the book yourself, you knew somebody who was reading the book, and everybody knew that it's the book where they talk about their periods. And it's like, and it's Judy Blume, who's friggin' amazing and
Yep.
an absolute national treasure. And this movie, I have not, unfortunately, I have not read this book. But I don't read a lot of books, so that's, neither here nor there. But this movie, I can flat out tell you, is amazing. The one thing I do know about the book and the movie is that they fleshed out the mother character in the movie a little bit, and like
Okay.
Judy Blume actually went to the writer of the movie and gave her the plot line that, like basically the backstory for the mom, and said, here's the mom's backstory, and do it what you will. And so they fleshed out the mom character, and it's played by Rachel McAdams, who, if you're a human being, you love. It's
I can't disagree. I agree.
Yeah, this movie and the kids in this movie are A+++. Just this is. Yes, this is one, and also this is why I gave Sisu 3+ guac, because this is a 4 taco movie. So you just could go ahead and throw it up there. This is a 4 taco movie. You should really ask Jen, hey, did you read Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret? And is that something that you'd want to watch? You don't need, maybe don't go to the theater, maybe wait for it to come to streaming. But honestly, it's like, normalize talking about periods, people, because dudes just like, the dudes don't come across very good in this movie, and unfortunately it's that's one of the funny things from that's one of the funny things from Polite Society is, they talk about the older sister's heavy flow, and
Yeah.
like all the dudes like are, react very, oh my goodness, I can't know about that. And it's really funny, but it's also really pathetic, because this book was written in 71, 72 or so.
Yeah.
And we still have dudes not able to talk about periods. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
why are we there? Like, what's going on?
Gotcha. Well, I do have to say that there is a proxy review coming in real quick, because Jen did see this movie.
Oh, okay.
And she wanted me to let you know that she came in at 4 tacos plus guac.
Cool.
And very specifically, Kathy Bates is the guac. And so,
yeah. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I could see that. I can see that.
So yeah,
man, there's one scene. So Kathy Bates plays Margaret's grandmother, and there's one scene where both of the grandparents are together at the same time, and Rachel McAdams' parents had basically like disowned her, but in speaking, Margaret in sort of in her growth, asked, "Hey, why don't we ever talk to your parents?" And it was a really difficult scene. And then there's a scene where Kathy Bates, as the paternal grandmother, and then the other parents come in, and it's a really uncomfortable scene, and Kathy Bates just absolutely owns that entire scene, and it's like, ooh. Kathy Bates won an Oscar, by the way, and for reasons,
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, make sure you guys check out Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret in theaters as well, along with Sisu and Polite Society, our new release movies that we've covered this week.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Paul, as we continue tonight's episode, you actually sent me a title that, again, there are times when you send me titles on the movie posters. I'm always ready for your segment, but then the movie poster's like, what? And so I'm going to turn it over to you for this week's installment of What the Hell Did I Just Watch?
Yeah, man. Enter the Void. Oh, there we are. Okay. Wow. This is like a rather tamed version of the movie poster.
Really? It's the one I saw the most of.
Like, interesting, because here, like, I'll see if I can bring it up really quick. I don't know if you can see it, but this is the one that's on IMDb.
That's the one that I originally had.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, I don't know if that's going to show as well, but
it's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So, so when I do this segment, I really don't know where I'm going to go. So let me give some background to this movie. This was one of the first movies by Gaspar Noé. He's a director. He is well known for having directed a movie called Irreversible in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Enter the Void was it was one of the follow-ups to it came out later in 2009, but Irreversible is widely considered. Did I do Irreversible on this podcast?
It doesn't ring a bell, Paul.
Okay. I think I was going to, and then I was just like, you know what, this is too much. Irreversible is one of those interesting movies where it plays out backwards. Like, they do a fun thing with time where it's like, the whole movie plays out backwards. So like you're introduced to the end of the story, and then so you see like 5 minutes at the end of the story, and then you go back and then see 5 minutes before that, and then you go back and see 20 minutes before that, and like the movie plays out like that. And there's a horrible thing that happens at some point prior to the end of the movie, and you're kind of told what happened, but it basically there's a rape and near murder, and like the whole movie just builds up to that moment, and it's frequently referred to as just one of the most just grisly, jaw-dropping moments ever put to film, and it absolutely is that. And so Enter the Void is not that, but that's what this guy is known for. This guy is known for just absolutely going to the extreme limits with his movie making. And Enter the Void is that. I mean, this movie. So the idea of this movie is that there is an American guy living in Tokyo with his sister, and he's dealing drugs in Tokyo, which, if you know anything about like just Asian society in general, dealing drugs not the best idea.
Oh yeah.
And he ends up getting shot during a drug deal. And the rest of the movie is him like being him in the afterlife essentially. And it's just like, so you can imagine. Anyway, the craziest part of this movie is the opening credits. Like what you see here with that writing, with all the crazy weird colors, like that, the opening credits is just like zoom, 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 zoom. Like literally, you can't read a damn thing during the credit. It's just like everything is absolutely flying at you with bright, like if you were part of this movie and the only thing you wanted to see was your name in the credits, good luck. It didn't happen. You could not, there's just no way. So then after these crazy psychedelic credits, we're introduced to the drug dealer and his sister. His sister sister's very concerned about him. And then the drug dealer kind of takes an hallucinogenic drug, and we get by far the trippiest part of the movie. And the interesting thing is that this movie isn't as trippy and weird as I thought it was going to be. Like, I was set up for a movie that was just really trippy and weird. But when it's the trippiest, weirdest part is when right after the guy takes the hallucinogenics, everything just kind of like goes into like that's where all these crazy colors are coming from.
Gotcha.
And the whole movie is shot from the vantage point of the drug dealer. Okay, so the only time you ever see the drug dealer's face is the time he walks by the mirror, because when they have that, you know, when you do that in a movie, if you're doing the point of view from the guy movie part of the movie, you always have to have the scene where they actually look in the mirror so you know what the guy looks like.
Yeah.
And the other time you get to see him is when he dies, and like you slowly see him, you know, rise above his body. That's it. All the rest of the movie is just through his sight, and apparently the afterlife in Gaspar Noé's estimation is just a whole lot of flashing back, seeing where, you know, how you got to where you are, and flashing forward, seeing what's going on, you know, after you have left.
Yeah.
And it's a very stream of consciousness movie. That's where this gets the what's going on, because it takes you a minute to just understand, like, you're just hopping from scene to scene with absolutely no it gets, I mean, look, it gets weird. I mean, big surprise, it gets weird, but more from a timeline standpoint. And as you put together the story, it's interesting, because the movie is far more interesting than it is good. If that makes, you know, like everything that's going on, it's like, oh, this is really kind of cool and interesting how this is playing out, but I don't really care for what's playing out. It just isn't like, it's not like capturing me. Like the guy and his sister, when they were young, very young, they were in a car accident. Their parents die. Okay. In the car accident. And so the subtitle to this movie, it should be Enter the Void, parentheses. If you're having kids and you don't have anybody in your life that can watch after the kids, if something terrible happens to you, maybe don't have kids. That's the subtitle, because like they're a loving family and they're a great family, but then once the parents died, they had nowhere to go, and so they're just put into the system, and it just turns out terribly for them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, gosh, people, like, have plans for your kids like that. This, if like every parent who doesn't have somebody close to them in their lives needs to watch this movie so that they can go and do estate planning immediately. That's really what this movie is good for, estate planning. Gotcha. But fast forward to the end of the movie, basically the brother the brother's spirit starts seeing what's going on with his sister and decides he needs to come back and starts looking for, this is the really interesting part of the movie. He starts looking for a way to come back. And so we just see a whole bunch of people fucking. Like, it's just a lot of scenes of people fucking, like, pretty graphic. And he finds his way into a couple that he thinks are trying to procreate, and so he finds his way back into the planet.
Wow.
So good for him. Yeah.
It almost always ends up with something like this.
Yeah.
The movies.
That's where it ends up. People fucking.
Well, there you go. We just found the subtitle to your segment.
Yeah. So. What the hell did I just watch? People were people fucking.
Yeah, wow.
Today, yes.
And where did you find this nugget?
Oh, this is on Tubi.
Okay.
Yeah, Bravo Tubi. This was on Tubi. This is one though that it has been on the list for a very long time, but I found it on Tubi. So
as you were talking earlier about Irreversible, I am familiar with the film. I haven't seen it, but I did know about it, and you didn't talk about it in a segment. I just happened to I forget how I came across it, and so yeah. interesting that
It's
um,
not an easy movie to
I'm
watch.
sure.
Like
No, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm familiar
that's
with the.
one that I regret. Like that's one where I had heard about it and I was just like, okay, well I got to, and it's just like, no, I should not have I should not have sought this movie out. That is not
Gotcha.
a movie I needed to watch.
All right. Well, you always take on the challenge of the unique, and so I thank you again, Paul, as always, for what you bring week to week because it's
Yeah.
always interesting and never dull. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Well, make sure you tune in next week for our next foray into the mind of Paul. For what the hell did I just watch? As for myself, I continue the Cinema by Jen series and finally saw a movie that has been on the radar for me forever, but I can't tell you why I missed it. Especially when I looked and found that the director of Colin Higgins, the director of 9 to 5, also did some of my favorite movies from my younger days. Foul Play, Best Little House in Texas,
Yeah.
Harold and Maude. These are all movies that I do remember
Yeah.
seeing when I was younger, and I never made the connection that this was one of his films. And
Yeah.
I can't even tell you, Paul, why I never saw it. It wasn't that I didn't want to; I just never got around to it.
Yeah.
So as has been our habit on Monday nights, Jen and I sit down and we're watching these movies together. She loves this film, and I can see why.
It's good.
It's so good, so funny. And again, it's the kind of funny that you just kind of like, you don't. It's not an overt laugh,
Yeah.
but it's just, and it's such it's from a simpler time in terms of cinema, in terms of movie making, right?
Yeah.
Then this was released in 1980, and very timely topic for the time, and unfortunately still kind of today.
Yeah.
But when you put together this team of Lily Tomlin, Jane Fonda, and Dolly Parton, it's like, come on. You throw in Dabney Coleman, who just I don't think he gets enough credit for his ability to pull off comedy.
Right.
It's just such a charming film and so much fun to watch. I'm ashamed it took me this long.
Yeah.
And it's definitely one that if Jen ever said, "Hey, you want to watch it again?" I'd be like, "Yeah, absolutely." It
Put
was
it in.
funny, which is hilarious because when you consider how a good chunk of this film, that's an hour and 40 minutes, is each of their dream sequences,
Yes.
right? And the cool part about this movie that I absolutely love the most, and I turned to Jen at one point and I was like, I was not ready for any of this, is you think it's going a certain direction, and then Lily Tomlin makes the mistake with the coffee.
Yeah.
And it just goes off the rails in the best of ways.
Yeah.
And it's not anything that you expected. And then you get to the next part of the plot against Dabney Coleman, and you're like, I hope no one ever touches this film with a remake intent.
I know.
Because it is perfect.
Yeah.
The way it is. I loved it. It's absolutely wonderful.
Dabney Coleman plays my favorite ever movie, sexist, egotistical, lying, hypocritical bigot. That's all there is to it.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
If you could, it's impossible to like him, but you have to love Dabney Coleman in that role. He is so perfect.
He's so over the top and so awesome.
Oh God.
And the consequence of him being sent to Brazil at the end is just too funny.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. And I love I mean, all the way down to the little details of the end where you find out what happened to each of the three ladies and then to Dabney Coleman. And it's just funny. So great. And Dolly Parton, I don't know how many, was this her first film? I don't know. Do you know?
No.
Okay. Because she's
like, how is she not in a million movies?
Exactly. She's such a treasure in so many ways.
Did people, was that her doing? Like, did she just say, you know what? I'm good having like 2 movies that people remember on my, on my resume, and we're done with that, because she is so freaking good in this movie.
Okay, by this point, 9 to 5 was her first.
First okay. Role. I thought she'd been in. I thought Rhinestone Cowboy came first. Oh, not like I thought. Oh, not Rhinestone Cowboy. Best Little House in Texas.
Yeah, that was 82. Yeah.
So I apologize. Yep. This was definitely her first. Yeah.
No, she's great, and it's just so.
Rhinestone. Yeah.
Yeah,
So 3
Was
movies.
Rhinestone the one with Sylvester Stallone?
Rhinestone is the one with Sylvester Stallone.
Oh my god, I almost have to watch that just to see how that came along.
She's in no less than 27 Christmas movies.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You see that. Yeah, you see that a lot. But no, just her. And again, this goes back to a time when you didn't need to have totally fleshed out characters for a movie to be fun and make sense.
Yeah.
You could each of these, wonderful actors had a specific role to play. They played it for the laughs, and it was just so much fun. Dude, again, normally I'm like, yeah, I'm really thankful that y'all introduced me. I'm ashamed it took me this long.
Yeah,
because man, I could have been quoting lines for years.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was a lot of fun. So I will let you know as soon as I know what the next one's going to be.
Okay.
Because there's some that I'm like, oh my gosh.
Hey.
In fact, do you have the list handy that I sent you?
Yeah.
Okay, I want you to choose what's next.
Oh, really?
Jen will love this.
Okay, cool. I mean, will Jen actually love this, or are you just saying that?
No, she will, because she's really geeked that you appreciated her list.
Okay.
And so it's almost like this sort of little back subplot between the two of you that you can tell me which one's next, because she's going to be like, all right, we're watching it. She's looking forward to it. Whatever.
Right, so you have enough animated on here that we need to do an animated. Like, you don't want to save those to the end and have just a whole bunch of animated.
Okay, so
shit. We'll go with, I guess we'll go forward rather than backwards.
Okay.
And yeah, so we'll go with Zootopia.
Gotcha.
Although Encanto is so good. No, we'll go forward. So we're gonna go Zootopia.
Gotcha. All right. Well, good. Then next week, we'll talk about Zootopia together.
Yeah, you do just you know you're not going to be super excited about the animated stuff, so just sprinkle them in.
Yeah,
periodically. Make sure they get spread out.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, look forward to that for sure. But yeah, this has been fun. It's been fun discovering movies she likes. So, yeah. All right. Well, we do have a couple of real quick reviews. Disney Plus released the first one we're going to talk about. And Paul, again, you were the one that did a great job of making sure you caught this one.
Yeah. So Peter Pan and Wendy. It's the Disney. We need to remake all of our animated movies for some reason into live action movies. That usually end up being completely unnecessary, just retellings that go pretty much by the book. And guess what? This is a completely unnecessary retelling that goes pretty much by the book.
I was wondering.
With a slight variation, they actually do flesh out. So this any review that you read is going to say the best thing about this movie is Jude Law as Hook, and the best thing about this movie is Jude Law and Hook. And the reason why it's the best thing in the movie is because it's the original thing in this movie, and it's the part of the movie that really lends this makes it a little different, which makes it slightly better than Pinocchio.
Okay.
Well, more than slightly. It's much better than the Pinocchio. Like, that Pinocchio thing was, but Peter Pan and Wendy, I really like the Jude Law. I really like what they did with that character. Peter Pan is almost like a tertiary character in this movie. Yeah. Like, it really should be Hook and Wendy with Peter Pan. Almost like it's the way it feels. Like, there's a big chunk of the movie, not a big chunk, but there's like a good 15-20 minutes where like Peter Pan's not even in the movie. Oh, wow. And so he's the topic of conversation, but he's just not in the movie. And and like, that's noticeable, like, and I don't have a problem with that. But ultimately, this movie didn't need to be made. And that's really where we are. And look, I'm going to be going to see Little Mermaid opening weekend. And it's going to be, I know where I'm going to land on that movie. It's going to be a perfectly fine movie that just didn't need to be made. And it's, and
what is the impetus of Disney doing this? I mean, is that even a conversation?
I think it's to introduce them to a new audience with changes that bring the story forward a bit. And
Gotcha.
and there are changes in this movie that bring the story forward a bit. But ultimately, and I am a really, really, really huge believer in representation matters. I think that representation is more impactful if the art that you're creating is impactful, you know. So yes, representation matters. It's awesome that we have Encanto. Representation matters, and it's awesome that we had Princess and the Frog, the version that they made. And representation matters that they're making a princess. They're retheming Splash Mountain in the parks to Princess and the Frog. That's original stuff where representation matters. I don't know that it has the same impact when the parents would probably just as soon show their kids the animated feature. You know, I don't know. I'm a white guy. I'm the wrong person to have this conversation. If people tell me, no, you know what, this is really important because I don't feel comfortable showing my kids the original Peter Pan. Awesome. If somebody says, no, wait, this is really important because having a Little Mermaid with an Ariel that looks more like my daughter than the Ariel that's in an animated version, great. Awesome.
Gotcha.
I think that they could still make an original movie that accomplishes that, though.
Sure.
At the end of the day, that's it. It's like, if we're doing art, let's make original art. We don't need to, we don't need to gussy it up and say, look, we put a shiny new sticker on this thing that was already art. It's like, okay,
I get it.
I like the sticker. I really like the sticker that you put on there. It's fantastic. But
but was it needed?
Yeah, could have just done a new painting that looked like that sticker. You know?
I hear you. One of the only other questions I had for you about this film, and again, I didn't see it, so
right.
But is it me, or because it seems like Peter Pan the character and a few others, are they rendered digitally, or is that the actor? Because
nobody is rendered it digitally in this.
Really?
And that's one of the nice things about this versus like the Pinocchio movie, where the Pinocchio was 100% digitally rendered. Nobody, not even Tinkerbell. And I will say, my biggest, other than racial, problems with the original Peter Pan.
Sure.
My biggest problem with the original is that I'm not a big fan of the Tinkerbell character. There are people who can relate to that character. I can't. She just seems spiteful and vindictive and petty. And there are people that just like, yes, that's the kind of character I like. And I think it's funny. I don't find those kind of characters funny. So I've never really been able to connect with Tinkerbell at all. And I've always found her annoying. Tinkerbell in this is fucking awesome. Like the second best thing in this movie is Tinkerbell, because Tinkerbell is an actual adult. And like, just it's really refreshing because she is the moral center of this movie. And interestingly, and where she acts as a sounding board for Wendy, and it's really something what they did with the Tinkerbell character in this movie.
Awesome.
So I will say I genuinely like that.
Excellent. Taco score for Peter Pan and Wendy.
I'm biased because I love Disney, so I am going to give it 3 tacos, even though like it's a weaker 3 tacos than Polite Society. If you're picking one of the two, go to Polite Society. This is not that good, but
gotcha.
Also, I just love Disney, so
that makes sense. All right. The final film we're going to talk about tonight actually wasn't a release from this past weekend, but it came to me by way of Jen again. She's like, "Hey, have you seen this trailer?" And I sent it to Paul, and I was like, "Yeah, let's if you got time." Sure. And that is the movie Kill Buck Soon on Netflix.
Yeah.
It's one of those, South Korean films just continue to enrapture me. I love the cinema of South Korea. This was a fun, very simple plot. It tried to be a little more complex than it probably should have been. But man, There's a point in this film where the plot plays into what this film I think needed more of, which was action.
Yeah.
And the scene where it's been a while, so I'm going to go ahead and just say it, where the sister chairman, the chairman's sister, is talking to all of the assassins in the on speaker,
right?
Yeah, and is offering a job. Let's just say that. It leads to a phenomenal action scene that, for me, this movie needed more of that.
It needed a lot more of that.
Yeah.
This movie was way more boring than this movie should have been.
I agree. I'm not going to disagree with that.
Just, oof.
So slow.
So slow. And as you mentioned, just tries to be too much. And this was a problem. What was the South Korean movie that we did about a month or like 2 months ago, where it was the sci-fi one, and
Yoongi.
Yeah.
Yoongi.
Yeah. Did you actually end up reviewing that one?
Okay. Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Okay. This movie, it has all the problems that Yoongi had also, where it's just be, just be, and don't you don't need to drag this movie in. Like there's nothing more that this movie needs other than what it is.
Right.
And you don't, there's just so much going on between the mother and daughter that takes away, like, I know that's part of the movie, but you can that can be part of the movie without being just an absolute break, like just stalling out and being stuck on the highway waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing, that while I enjoyed it, this was a movie that, for me, it's like, oh man, it could have been so much more.
Yeah.
And I think that the mid-credit scene, I don't know if you stayed long enough to see it.
I did not.
Was an attempt to remedy that. It was actually a pretty cool scene, because there's a point in the film at the very end of the last act where it's, did she or didn't she witness what her mother does?
Right.
The mid-credit scene that happens in this film does something with that character, with the daughter, where you see, oh, okay, this is her embracing what she saw. And because she is someone who has violent tendencies.
Right.
And there's an embracing of that in this mid-credit scene that I think, had you played that maybe right at the end instead of going to mid-credit, it would have put a little bit more of a little bit better of an ending to this film. But it was again, it was a movie that when it was over, I'm like, okay, good, all right, I'm done.
I was like, I could not wait to hit stop. I was like, oh, I need to be done.
Yeah, it was just fun enough, but then I was glad when it was over. So. Yeah, so it is on Netflix. You can catch it. It's not going to get more than 2+ guac from me.
I'm just doing 2. It does not get the guac. It
gotcha.
Did not do remotely enough.
All right, that action scene really did do it for me. So that's the guac. But
you're giving an action scene guac, which is totally fair. I've done much worse. So that's.
Hey, I like the 13th Warrior. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So. What's coming up next week, Paul?
Guardians of the Galaxy, man.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, no, you're darn it. Yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy. I am me and Marvel lately, but
you have a hate relationship.
We'll see what I'm going in with an open mind.
There you go. You always do. I applaud you for that. I've heard good things, but that doesn't mean anything. How's that?
Oh no, I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
I'm with you on
that.
The thing that for me, it adds the what's the word I'm looking for? The driver for me is that we know that this is likely the last time we'll see at least this cast. You know, and so that's always
totality.
Yeah, that's always going to be a draw. So yeah, I will be looking forward to that. Anything else happening besides? Because I doubt anything else.
Really, I mean, there's Love Again, which
why would you release it?
There's What's Love Got to Do with It, which I'm assuming is another Tina Turner biopic. I'm kidding. I have no idea what it is. Like nothing that I've heard of. Like it. So we might have to like come up with something more for next week.
I agree. Yeah, we'll figure that out. Yeah, because Guardians of the Galaxy is the centerpiece for next week's show, and we always find fun ways to.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure it out.
Yeah, the films of Dave Bautista. I'm just
raccoons. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, the films of animals in film. So no, we'll
Zootopia. It plays in perfectly. Yeah,
we'll tie it together.
Talking animals in films.
There you go. You need to find yourself a what the hell did I just watch with talking animals?
Yeah, sure. I'm sure I have like 5 of those on my list.
Absolutely. Well, whatever it will be,
it won't be.
I'm looking forward to it. Oh, thank goodness. All right. Well, I always forget the dog's name.
Riz.
That's right. Riz is so cute. Look at that face.
I know.
All right. Well, it has been another fun week here on Real to Real Talk. Thank you, Paul, as always. For those of you out there watching, we thank you. Make sure you get out to the theater, catch Guardians of the Galaxy this weekend, and get ready for us to talk about it next week. Until then, don't forget, as we always tell you, you're awesome, you're amazing, and the world's a better place because you are in it. We'll see you next time on Real to